Yeah, this is a video I'm not happy to be doing, but if it helps somebody out there, then it's been worth it. Everybody that follows me knows I had quite a fantastic teddy bear, or golden Syrian hamster called Trevor. Contrary to popular belief, these creatures are highly intelligent, trainable, and they bond to one human quite tightly. Trevor was all of these things and a wee bit more. Now, I don't remember, I had tweeted about 5 weeks ago that I wasn't going to have him do tricks anymore, like they come in when he's called and stuff like that, because I was sure his eyesight had gone at this point. Now, Syrians live for normally 1 to 2 years in captivity. Some have been known to live a bit longer, but that gets dependent on genetics and things like that. There can be faults bred in that can shorten length in their life. Trevor was 2 years, 6 months. I did get him for a rescue. His estimated age was 8 weeks. At that point, he could have been slightly older. I will never know for sure. But I've had him since May 2019. It is now mid-June 2021. So it's a decent lifespan. Over the last week or so, I'd noticed his health begin to deteriorate. He wasn't in pain. To say first things first, if you think your hamster is in pain, you need to take them to a vet. But keep in mind, this is a decision you need to make for yourself. I decided not to take Trevor to a vet because his quality of life was still good. He was, up until the last few days, still eating and drinking plenty. He was always a bit of a grubber. And he was quite happy to be handled and things like that. To push him into a box when what he was suffering from was just old age, put him in the car and then drive him to the vets, it's highly likely the stress of that would have killed him and he would have died. Quite an unpleasant death, terrified in the front of the car with me. So I decided to keep him at home, just keep an eye on the situation, and if he had needed medical attention, of course I would have had a vet come out, is what I would have done. It's up to yourself how you play that one. Obviously use your judgment. Yesterday he had opted not to sleep in his nest. He was sleeping out in the open. This is a fairly obvious sign that your Syrian hamster's life's coming to an end when they just don't try and hide anymore. He was given fresh carrot, which he did not even attempt to move to eat. Now, these are the first two symptoms that your hamster's possibly has died and isn't in something called torpor, which is what we're going to talk about. I don't know if I'm saying that properly, assume I am. It's a deep sleep-like state that looks a lot like death. It's a type of hibernation. It's rare to see nowadays because most family homes are warm nowadays and tend not to drop below the kind of 20 degrees, which is normally what will push a Syrian hamster into hibernation. Dwarf hamsters generally don't do this. They are from colder climates. This is something peculiar to Syrians. It's a very deep sleep-like state and it does look a lot like death. If you find your hamster sort of lying in the cage, curled up, eyes tightly closed, looking as if they've passed away, there is a procedure that you need to follow. Do not simply take them out and bury them. What I did last night is I double checked his food and stuff. Most hamsters will eat a lot before they go into a torpor state because it's technically a hibernation that their instinct will tell them to eat before this happens. Trevor hasn't eaten, I'd say, in about 24 hours. So I had a fair idea. This was not hibernation. Plus it's June. The house is very, very warm and he has never gone into a hibernated state before, so this would have been unusual. But I still followed this procedure. Obviously I've got a child in the house, so I removed him from the room because it's distressing for her. I prepared a small box, like a nest. I filled it with his favourite type of bedding, which was kitchen roll, which he absolutely loved. I then took that into my bed with me and I lay there with him, with his body, and I watched quietly for any signs of breathing. Now in a hamster in this state, torpor state, they are still breathing, but they're breathing very, very slowly, but it is visible. The other thing you check for is the heart, where their chest is. Their heart rate can drop to, I mean, as little as kind of 5 beats a minute, sometimes lower if they're in this state. So you really need to have your fingers sort of where their arms join their chest. Get your fingers there, not your thumb, because your thumb has a pulse in it, and just press gently and just wait. You will feel the vibration of their heart if it's still there. I obviously didn't feel that. Even a hibernating hamster, because it's a prey animal, will rouse if it's being poked and prodded. It's instinctive that they'll jump up and they'll try to kind of get away and save themselves. So while holding him to me, because I thought if he is hibernating, heat will warm him up, I stroked him. I tried to open his eyes, which were tightly shut. I tried to move his limbs, which at this point were very, very stiff and cold. I felt his stomach, his entire body was very, very, very stiff at this point, which is another indicator. If they remain stiff at this point, when you've done all this over the course of an hour or so, and are completely unresponsive, then I'm sorry, your hamster's gone. But if they rouse, even the tiniest movements, say the opening of an eye, something like that, then your hamster can be saved by getting it warmed up, try to get water into them and try and get food into them. They can be saved. But see, things to check breathing, check for a heart, try and warm them up, try and goad a response out of them. They may bite you when you do this. But if you're in a warm house, sorry. If you're in a warm house, it's the middle of summer. It's highly unlikely that your Syrian is actually hibernating. But just the takeaway from this, if I've made much sense, is if your hamster appears dead, don't just make the assumption that they are. Too many hamsters have been buried alive or tossed into bin bags only to reappear later by their owners, who assumed that the hamster had actually died. So just follow these steps. Hug them, stroke them, watch for breathing, check the heart. If this doesn't work over the course of an hour or more, there's a good chance your Syrian's passed away. I'm in the middle of organising a cremation, so I'm going to cut this short there. It's another thing, there are pet cemeteries. A quick Google will tell you the closest one in your area. I'm in Renfrewshire, the closest one to me is actually in Ayrshire. So I've got the rather unpleasant task of actually having to store his body at the moment until I can get the cremation organised. But you can have them cremated if, like me, you just can't bring yourself to bury them. So yeah, I'll let everybody know how the funeral went. Thanks for taking the time.